most countries around the world, when people hear about palm oil, the first thing that comes to their mind is deforestation, or maybe destruction of animal habitat, or maybe land grabbing. And while that narrative may be true as on a large-scale industrial operations, the fact is that nothing ignores the realities that we face here. You see, palm oil or oil palm is indigenous to Liberia as it is for most West Africans. It grows naturally in the wild. And so by cultivating wild palm, it negates the need for someone to go and clear the rainforest to plant. Because again, this is God's gift to us. Nobody planted it. It's a wild crop that grows everywhere in Liberia. But as it is with most low-income countries, one of the greatest paradoxes that we have in Liberia is the paradox of poverty in the midst of plenty. 64% of Liberians live below the poverty line, despite our country being so rich in so many natural resources, and oil palm is one of them. Despite the fact that we have hundreds of thousands of acres of wild palm trees growing in all directions in this country, a majority of the smallholder farmers who make palm oil still live in poverty. Why is that? Well, number one is that the smallholder farmers don't have access to the right processing tools. They have to use their bare hands to squeeze out the palm oil. And when they do that, they lose about more than 50% of the expected oil yield. Number two, the very valuable palm kernels, which is a byproduct of palm oil production, are almost all discarded because, again, there are no markets for palm kernels in most rural communities. And so, J Palm is solving what is essentially a last mile problem. We travel to these very rural areas and we meet with local leadership, we explain our business model, we explain our project, and we enter into partnerships where we can provide access to more efficient processing tools for palm oil production. And so instead of farmers using their bare hands to make palm oil, they now have access to a machine that enables them to make 53% more oil from using the same quantity of palm fruit relative to if they're using just their bare hands to make the palm oil.
For the J palm, when you use the machine, you will get more oil. But for our traditional, you will get less oil. Because you will not able to process it good at the way the machine can process it.
But in addition to that, we've also now created a market for palm kernels. So instead of throwing the palm kernels away, farmers can now earn extra income from trading the palm kernels. Currently, we operate in 51 communities in Brown County, and that's serving more than 5,000 smallholder farmers with these machines. And this is all made possible by partnerships with institutions such as Pacha Soap in the US, USAID, the United States Africa Development Foundation, as well as USAID and the Whole Planet Foundation. Initially, we did a partnership with USAID to expand the project first into 20 communities in Brown County, which we did. We built processing sites, we paid for the machines, and provided access to the machines in these communities for farmers to make their palm oil. But the trend that we saw was that each time we expanded into each village, all of the surrounding villages would contact us and ask us to expand into their villages as well, because there's such a need for this kind of intervention. And so we eventually did a partnership with the Whole Planet Foundation to expand into additional 30 communities, where we set up the mini mills and build processing sites. And with the Whole Planet model, what we're studying is the potential to now transfer ownership to the communities after a certain period of time. But beyond just making palm oil and palm kernel oil, another thing that we're targeting is organic certification. The wild palms that we are processing are organic by default because those are natural palm trees. Nobody uses any chemical fertilizers on them or any kind of pesticides. So they're fundamentally organic. But the challenge now is how do we make sure that we maintain the organic integrity during the processing phase, so that there's no harmful chemicals or no inorganic inputs come in contact with the palm during the production process. And so through the help of USAID, we are now investing in setting up what we call an internal control system to make sure that the farmers receive the training that they need, to make sure that they receive the tools that they need to produce the oil so that the palm kernels that come out of there can remain organic. Through USADF, we've also built a palm kernel processing factory that has the potential or has the capacity to process 25 tons of palm kernel per 24 hours. And through that same grant, we're able to buy the trucks and the other logistical tools that we need to produce palm kernel oil. So everything comes together quite nicely. USADF and Whole Planet Foundation help us to invest in the infrastructure to expand into the communities, and USAID is helping us finance the organic certification costs, so that once, hopefully before the end of this year or by early next year, once we get organic certification, we'll now be able to start to export the palm kernel oil to markets in Europe and the US, which will enable us to fetch a price premium. The premium now will allow us to pay more money to the farmers that we're buying the palm kernels from. Now, when we started this journey, there was no use for the palm kernels. The farmers would just threw the palm kernels away after producing palm oil. And now we've effectively been able to create a whole market around palm kernels, so that we're now even talking about organic certification and now talking about paying even more money to the smallholder farmers for something that just a few years ago was considered as a waste. And so this makes me quite happy, because it's been a very long journey. We started this journey 9 years ago in 2013. And now we have seen it all come together, where we have palm oil production that's happening in very rural villages, very remote villages that nobody even thought to have this sort of mechanization happening. But then beyond that, we also now have the palm kernels that used to go to waste in there. We now have the palm kernels that we are processing in our own factory that we own into palm kernel oil. And we are using those palm kernel oils to create all of these amazing natural skin and hair care products that you see around us here in our store in Monrovia, that customers can now come in and purchase some of these products which they love, that they use for themselves, but the income that comes from there now goes back to the smallholder farmer in the rural communities. And once we now begin exporting some of the palm kernel oil to the national market as organic palm kernel oil, it will enable even more money to flow into the hands of the smallholder farmers. And so the way I see it is the funding that we receive from institutions such as USAID, USAID, and Whole Planet Foundation are seed investments to catalyze this vision that we have, which is really to become self-sustaining. The whole model of J-Farm is an exercise in self-sufficiency of that business, in using the resources that we already have as a basis to create jobs, as a basis to put money into the hands of smallholder farmers, ultimately as a basis to help to reduce poverty, using what we have to elevate ourselves. And in the process, we are now bringing other liabilities support, because somebody will be walking to a conifer store today and buy a lotion, buy buttered oil, buy a shampoo, and they may not necessarily know what impact they are creating. But that doesn't matter, because they are creating impact. The revenues that we're generating from here is going back into communities. And it's really this sort of circular economy that we're trying to build, which will help us to sustain our impact in long term, enable us to expand to even more communities, enable us to help more smallholder farmers to make more money, enable us to help these people out of poverty. Because what happens is, when a smallholder farmer makes more money, they are now able to maybe send more their children to school, they're able to invest in their families, invest in their own health, save some of that money. And that's what it's all about. At the end of the day, it's all about us ensuring a better foundation, a better future for the next generation, by harnessing our natural resources to create jobs, to create viable, sustainable livelihood